October is Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Federal cybersecurity head Jen Easterly says there are ways to guard against scams.
There is so much fraud out there, and you just have to take a breath, not take an action right away, because a lot of these fake things are designed to have you quickly react to things in a sense of urgency or a sense of fear.
She says among the things you can do, recommends complex passwords. Prosecutors in the Delphi double murder trial today showing the jury firearm evidence. The defendant, Richard Allen, has pleaded not guilty to the murders of two teenagers in February 2017.
The prosecution in the Delphi murder trial calling to the stand former Indiana State Police firearm examiner Melissa Oberg, who testified about the firearm evidence allegedly linking Richard Allen to the crime scene. Oberg described how the cartridge found near the girls' bodies was tied to Allen's gun through unique tool marks. She explained to jurors the process of cycling a cartridge in a semi-automatic handgun, demonstrating in court with a dummy round. Her analysis, she said, showed the cartridge had distinct ejector and extractor marks matching Allen's weapon, suggesting it had been cycled through his pistol. Dave Packer, ABC News.
A New Mexico judge has declined to reconsider criminal charges against Alec Baldwin over the 2021 fatal shooting on the set of Rust. Prosecutors applied to reinstate involuntary manslaughter charges. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
You can live out your MasterChef dreams when you find a professional on Angie to tackle your dream kitchen remodel. Connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. Inside to outside, repairs to renovations. Get started on the Angie app or visit Angie.com today. You can do this when you Angie that.
News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
I'm Bill Walter, KBNU News. News is brought to you by Logan Extermination. A 20-year-old Newton man has confessed to downloading child pornography. Raiden Sazama accepted a plea deal that could keep him from a prison sentence. According to court records, Sazama appeared October 16th in Logan's 1st District Court. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, amended to a third-degree felony. The crimes carry a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison. As part of the plea resolution, 4 remaining charges were dismissed. Prosecutors also reportedly agreed not to ask for a prison term at sentencing. Sazama was arrested in November 2023 after Cache County Sheriff's deputies tracked child pornography to his electronic device. The material was reportedly downloaded around August of 2023. Sazama is currently out of jail on pretrial release. He is scheduled to be sentenced on December 11th. He is still thought of by many as the new senator from northern Utah, but it's been 4 years. And incumbent Chris Wilson is running for re-election in the Utah State Senate. In another candidate spotlight, Wilson was a guest on KBNU's For the People program this past Tuesday. He said the first 4 years have gone by fast.
I had somebody grab me on Sunday in church and just said, Chris, I just about fainted when I looked and said, you're up. I couldn't believe you're up for re-election. It's been 4 years since the last election, and it has gone quickly.
Wilson said it has been extra busy with committee assignments, but he says if you're at a seat at the table, then you're in on those decisions.
I think being at the table and being able to get some resources for our valley has been very, very helpful, and that's why I wanted to serve, is I just want to make sure and help our valley. And you know, and accepting those assignments, yes, I'm very, very busy. This is more than a full-time job, but I'm here to serve. And if you accept the responsibility and assignments from leadership, then guess what? You get more, and you get maybe more important ones.
Wilson has enjoyed working with the Infrastructure and General Government Appropriations Subcommittee, for which he serves as chair. Through that assignment, he was able to help local organizations such as the Cache Food Pantry with their recent expansion and remodel. The Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation will stop in Nibley on December 11th as part of its 2024 statewide grant workshop tour. The free workshop, scheduled from 10 a.m. to noon, will provide an overview of available outdoor recreation funding and guidance on applying for grants. The workshop is aimed at local governments, nonprofits, and outdoor recreation advocates seeking to improve Utah's outdoor spaces and infrastructure. Participants will receive advice on writing strong grant applications, managing budgets, and maximizing project outcomes through multiple funding sources. Patrick Morrison, DOR's Recreation Grants Program Director, said their goal is to ensure every organization with an outdoor recreation project, whether in the planning stages or already underway, has the tools to submit competitive grant applications. KVNU Weather is brought to you by Triton Medical Supply, a partner for your medical needs. Top quality medical soft goods like incontinence supplies and oxygen needs. Call 435-557-6687 or go to mytritonsupply.com. Partly cloudy this evening, then mostly cloudy, low in the low 30s, and then sunny around 70 degrees on Saturday. Partly cloudy Sunday, upper 60s for the high. This morning's low all the way down to 25. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
Hi there. We're your new neighbors, the Voles. I'm Horrible, and this is my wife, Terrible. Hi! It's been such a great summer, we gotta have an army of children. Now we're fixing to tear up your yard. The only warning sign of us is some surface tunneling holes, and then boom! Yard death! What do you think? Should we get started, Ma? Yep. These guys aren't gonna call the troops at Logan Extermination.
Voles are a problem. They can tear up your lawn and garden. But there is something you can do. Call Logan Extermination at 752-8450.
Covering the news that affects your life. News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, and online at 610kvnu.com.
When elected officials prioritize their self-interest, they erode public trust. Candidate Moore holds a $1.6 million interest in the Boyer Company. In 3 years, Boyer Company revenues increased 800%. As a CFO, CPA, and Utah State MBA, my oath requires me to avoid even the perception of a conflict of interest. I, Bill Campbell, will restore trust and prioritize you. My name is Bill Campbell, and I am running for Utah's 1st Congressional District, and I approve this message.
So, wondering why CVTD is now called Connect? Well, let us explain. We connect Lexi to school, and we connect Jamie and her kids to the park. We connect Kelly to her lunch meetings, and Mark to the hardware store when he has a plumbing emergency. And we connect Jim to go swim laps. Why are we called Connect? Isn't it obvious? Find your route today at rideconnectutah.gov.
This is James Boyd, Chief Development Officer at CAPSA. At CAPSA, you matter. Domestic and sexual violence impact 1 in 3 women and 1 in 5 men in our community. Despite its prevalence, it remains a hidden crisis affecting our friends, families, and neighbors. When you donate to CAPSA, you're supporting people in your life and across our community. Every donation to CAPSA is a profound statement to survivors that you matter. Join us and show survivors that they matter. Learn more about CAPSA and how you matter at CAPSA.org.
KVNU's For the People with Jason Williams and Bill Walter.
And it is Utah known as the fraud capital of the world. Not because we have more people committing fraud, but because we have so many people falling for it.
Going beneath the headlines and connecting you to the newsmakers.
The radio is a great way to get the word out to a lot of people in an emergency. So we thank you for your help and being a partner with us.
For the People on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM, 102.1 FM, online at 610kvnu.com and on the KVNU mobile app.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. It is Friday, October 25th. I'm Jason Williams. getting down to the wire on the election. And we've got you covered. CacheValleyDaily.com posted just a couple of hours ago your complete voter guide. And a quick reminder, it's coming a bit late. Scheduling required that. So apologies that we can't get this in any earlier, but the expert on Amendment B, I know a lot of people have asked about that one because it's such a small change, but the circus around Amendment A and Amendment D and the Supreme Court ruling and the full text we talked about yesterday that was very harsh towards lawmakers, basically a spanking from the Utah Supreme Court for the Senate President and Speaker of the House in the full text of the ruling that was released yesterday. And that's left, I think, a lot of people who have been, paying close attention a little hesitant on the constitutional amendments on the ballot. Two are moot, Amendment A and D, because of the Supreme Court ruling. Well, really, because the Senate President and Speaker of the House tried to pull a fast one on you and got caught. And a lawsuit made its way to the state Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, yeah, you weren't honest with voters in that ballot language. So those two will not count. You can vote for or against, but those votes won't be tabulated by county clerks after that Supreme Court ruling. But Amendment B and C, the two in the middle on your ballot, will still count. Amendment C is simple. Again, this is it comes from kind of a hinky place. It's a conspiracy theory movement called the Constitutional Sheriff Movement, and it started in the Obama years. And the conspiracy theory was that Barack Obama, while president, was in his second term, was going to just decide not to leave office, and the way he was going to take over the country was by appointing sheriffs. And the sheriffs would rise up and help Obama take over. Well, obviously none of that happened. Not even close. We got closer to that after 2020, actually, ironically. But we didn't see that happen. But there's still this feeling out there that, that one day could happen. And so that's where this originated. But really, Amendment C doesn't do anything dangerous. It basically takes election law that is currently statute in Utah. Statute in Utah says county sheriffs will be elected by the people. It takes that language, which is in the state election law, and moves it, or cuts and pastes it basically into the state constitution. So the impetus behind this is someone someday could decide, future Utah legislature could decide to change that in state law and say, we're going to appoint sheriffs, as the conspiracy theory foretold in the Obama years. And again, didn't happen. But this would eliminate that option. Even the legislature, even if a future Utah legislature decided to change it so that we appoint county sheriffs, they couldn't, because if this amendment passes, it would be written into the state constitution. Now, lawmakers can always change the constitution, but they have to vote to put it on the ballot, and then they have to put it to voters to approve, as is the case with Amendment C itself. So that's where that one comes from. I don't think anybody should have a problem with this. Like I say, it's worth noting that it originated in this weird conspiracy theory from 2014, but it at the same time, I don't see any harm in moving that language, cut and pasting that language out of state. Well, I guess just copy and pasting, because it will still be in statute. But taking the same language that's in statute right now that says sheriffs are elected by a vote of the people, and moving that to the state constitution so a future legislature can't change that, I don't see how it hurts anything. Amendment B is a little more difficult to understand because it's very simple. It says, there's this school trust fund, and right now the legislature, any given budgetary year, which goes from July 1st to July 1st here in Utah, they can spend only 4% of the money that's in that education fund. And that education fund money goes into that a lot of different ways. Sometimes the legislature puts money in there, but most of it is coming through things like STITLA, the School Trust Lands Management Committee. They do land swaps with the federal government. They buy land, they sell land, they lease land that they own as under the umbrella of STITLA, and any profits go back into this school fund, and that money can only be used to put towards education here in Utah. And it's not a huge fund compared to the state budget, at least. It's a lot of money, and sometimes more, sometimes less. But either way, there's this provision in the Constitution that says the state legislature can only use 4% of that school fund at any one time in any one budgetary year. And the constitutional amendment that they've asked you to approve on your ballot, lawmakers are asking you to change that from 4% to 5%. I don't honestly know enough about it to have an opinion other than my feeling is the difference between 4 and 5% is not going to really change anything greatly, and that's more money for schools, at least a little bit. So I lean in favor. But if you're really unsure how to vote on that one, hold tight. I hate to ever advise anyone to sit on their ballot because the earlier you get it in, the less likely you are to forget to send it in or drop it at a drop box. And, of course, you always have hand delivery at the clerk's office on Election Day as an option as well. You can also register to vote in person only on Election Day. Today, by the way, is the deadline, 5 p.m. today. You've got about 40 minutes to register to vote or check your registration to make sure your address is correct, things like that. You've got until 5 p.m. today to do that online at vote.utah.gov, the easiest way to do that. So especially if you expected a ballot and didn't see one, go to vote.utah.gov right now, enter your information. It'll pull your registration up or tell you if you're not registered yet, and you can fix that quickly, and a ballot will still arrive in time for you to fill it out and either mail it or drop box it back in before the election. If you don't do that by 5 p.m. today, you have to do it in person at the clerk's office to fix your registration. You have to go in person at the clerk's office. And at that point, you'll be advised to vote in person on Election Day, where they let you fill out a provisional ballot once your registration is either fixed or once you're registered, if you're not registered yet. Once that all goes through and is approved, then your provisional ballot is counted before certification a couple of weeks after the election. So you still get to vote. That again is 5 p.m. today is the cutoff for fixing or making a registration for the first time online. After that, you can still do it in person at the clerk's office. So vote.utah.gov before 5 p.m. if you want to just double check, especially if you're expecting a ballot and didn't get one. Okay, back to the topic at hand. Never want to advise anyone to sit on your ballot, but if you're out there and you haven't filled out your ballot or you're filling out you filled out your ballot all except Amendment B, you're just really unsure how to vote on that one, especially I can understand with the circus around Amendment A and D. I can understand if a lot of voters right now are very suspicious of anything the legislature is asking us to change about the Constitution. It would make total sense after the shenanigans they've pulled on Amendment A and D. But Amendment B, two things. It was approved long before those shenanigans, and it is a minuscule change. It's a minor change. It's not a complete reworking of some way that our government functions like Amendment A and D are or were, but it is, also allowing lawmakers to spend more money out of a fund that's intended to force them to save money. So if you want to know more about Amendment D, next Thursday at 5 o'clock, again, we tried to make this happen this week, but scheduling just wouldn't allow it. The soonest we could get him in was next Thursday, 5 o'clock, second hour of the show next Thursday. Representative Dan Johnson will be in. He was the representative that worked on this. He's the one that basically shuttled most of this through and was a part of every debate around Amendment B on your ballot. And so he'll be here. He's a very fair guy. And, of course, he's going to be coming in and talking in favor because he wouldn't have voted to put it on the ballot if he wasn't a supporter of the change. But he's a very fair guy, and he is going to come in and just basically provide all the background and what a difference of 4% and 5%, what that 1% difference means. So that is, again, next Thursday at 5 o'clock. And one last time, today at 5 o'clock, your last chance to either fix or make your voter registration valid online at vote.utah.gov. After 5 p.m. today, you can still fix it. You can still register to vote if you're not registered, but you have to do it in person at the clerk's office. So vote.utah.gov, again, before 5 p.m. today, that online voter registration deadline coming up in just under 40 minutes. We'll be back with more of KVNU's For the People, and coming up, the For the People movie show with Andy Morgan. More right after this.
Are you in need of excellent surgical care? Budge Clinic General Surgery offers the future of surgery with state-of-the-art robotic-assisted procedures. From cancer treatments to surgical needs, they've got you covered. Call Budge Clinic General Surgery today, 435-716-1950, to schedule a consultation and experience the best possible outcome. Trust Doctors Anderson, Marshall, McKenna, and Peterson, the experts at Budge Clinic General Surgery, helping people live the healthiest lives possible.
Your 401k is likely one of your most important assets, but it's only one part of a comprehensive retirement strategy. Edward Jones can help you understand how your retirement assets fit into your entire retirement picture, so you work toward your unique retirement goals. Contact one of our 11 offices for Edward Jones in Cache Valley, or go to edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
Weather changes are tough on your transmission. As we move to colder winter weather, AMCO Transmission invites you to bring your vehicle in for preventative maintenance before the snow flies. Have a diesel pickup, Cummins, Duramax, or Power Stroke? AMCO in Logan is your transmission specialist, and they promise to get you in quickly. For over 50 years, AMCO Total Car Care has been experts in repair for transmissions, brakes, tune-ups, and more. Find your local AMCO. 75 East, 2000 North, 752-1940.
The Aggies continue conference play Saturday as they travel to Wyoming to face the Cowboys.
Are we a confident team? We're probably the most 1-6 confident team in the country, but we just need to get better at our small details. And until we do, it's just too many one-on-one plays that we're losing.
Pre-game begins at 3, kickoff is at 5, and post-game and Aggie call immediately follows the game. It's the Aggies and the Cowboys, Saturday afternoon on News Talk KVNU.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. Again, Voter's Guide is live at CacheValleyDaily.com. There is a lot on the ballot. It's just, it's kind of exciting, but at the same time, it's odd to see this much happening all at once. I hope it's getting people excited and wanting to cast a vote. But it is a lot. It's a big ballot. So it's worse in other parts of the state as far as length of the ballot goes. So I guess we can count ourselves lucky there. But you have everything from the Cache Water Board to county races to state legislative race, and of course the statewide races, gubernatorial, and also the United States Senate race, all of that. So there's a lot. And then 4 constitutional amendments. Only 2 are actually going to count. Again, Amendment B and C. Those votes for those will be counted. Amendment A and D were rendered moot by a Supreme Court ruling. So you can vote if you want to on Amendment A and D, but those votes won't be tabulated. So some other dates you need to know about this. So I mentioned today at 5 o'clock, just a little over half an hour from now, is the registration deadline for online voter registration or online fixing your registration. If you have moved and forgot, you expected a ballot but didn't get one, anything like that, go double check your registration before 5 o'clock today. That's the cutoff for vote.utah.gov, the online registration site the state has. After that, well, candidates, so next week should be interesting. October 29th, candidates are required to file their financial disclosures. And so by late on the 29th or early on the 30th, we'll be able to see their financial disclosures. And those are always interesting. And then the next date you need to know, in-person early voting at your respective clerk's offices. Here in Cache Valley, of course, that is the county administration office. And they'll have multi-purpose room 109 on that main floor there at the county administration building at 179 North Main Street in Logan, open for as basically an election center of sorts. So in-person early voting is October 29th, next Wednesday Tuesday until November 1st. So if you if you want to vote in person and are more comfortable doing that, some people I know don't like to drop their ballot in a drop box or put it in the mail, so they hold on to it. But you don't have to wait until Election Day to deliver it in person. That's what early voting is for. And so starting next Tuesday, October 29th, going until the Friday of next week, November 1st, in-person early voting will be taking place at the Cache County Cache County Administration Office. And again, they reserve that bottom floor multi-purpose room, the big room there, for early voting at the county building there on 2nd North and Main, roughly. And then the next deadline, of course, is the postmark deadline. If you do plan to mail your ballot, it must be postmarked by Monday, November 4th, period. There is no variance on that. So, and post offices don't stay open for this. So it must be postmarked by your post office. And one little tip I can give you. Now, this doesn't happen often, and this was a small number of ballots that were affected by this. But if you intend to put it off till the last minute, or if you accidentally, like I have before, put it off until the last minute, and you want to absolutely rule out any possibility of your ballot not getting postmarked, take it into the post office. Either drop it in a slot inside the post office, or one of the boxes outside the post office building itself, or if you really are concerned, wait in line and hand it to a post office clerk in person. The reason I say that is there were about 300 ballots in southern Utah during the primary that it created quite a dust-up. In the end, it didn't change the result of the congressional district primary that was happening there between Celeste Malloy, Congresswoman Celeste Malloy, and who won the primary. And was the incumbent in that race, even though she was appointed, midterm by Chris Stewart leaving office early, citing the health of his wife last summer. She did win that primary, but it was very close, and then it was found out that about 300 ballots that maybe should have counted didn't. It wasn't a Utah County Clerk mess up; it was a post office mess up. But what happened is ballots that were mailed in Washington County, about 300 of them. That were mailed in Washington County. In Washington County, because of their proximity to Las Vegas, because this happens to us too with Salt Lake, mail is sometimes routed from home mailboxes. It'll be collected at home mailboxes, put in a big bag, and then sometimes that bag ends up here in Cache Valley. It ends up going to Salt Lake, getting postmarked in Salt Lake, and then coming all the way back to whoever you mailed it to here in Cache Valley. One way to make sure that doesn't happen is by taking it into the post office, because they look at the address and put it right in the right bin. But when it's picked up at a mailbox in front of your house, sometimes it's just thrown in a big group of outgoing mail, and that is all sent to Salt Lake for sorting and postmarking, and then the next day back to Cache Valley for delivery. Same thing happens in Washington County, but it's Las Vegas. And so what happened is there were about 300 ballots that they found that probably should have counted. They had people signing affidavits saying, I am here testifying under, penalty of law, signing this affidavit that I mailed my ballot in time, and yet was told by the county clerk's office my ballot was not postmarked in time, and so my vote didn't count. And when people got digging into that, what they found out is that about 300, I think it was 340, trying to find it here, 346 ballots in a race that came down to less than 1,000 ballots. It was a very close primary for the incumbent who ended up winning with a comfortable enough margin that these 300 ballots wouldn't have changed the outcome. But still, when you're down to, between 1,000 and 1,500 ballots in the end, and you've got 300 that maybe should have counted but didn't because they weren't postmarked in time, but it wasn't the fault of the voter. Voter dropped it in the mail in time or put it in the mailbox in front of their house on the day before the election when the deadline for mailing or postmarking your ballot was. But what happened is they were picked up, they were shipped to Las Vegas, they were overnight sorted and postmarked, but after midnight, the ballots received a late postmark, and then they were sent back to the county clerks in Washington County, and the county clerk saw the postmark and tossed the ballots, because that's what state law tells county clerks to do. So that's a really rare thing. But the lesson here, people were so miffed about this. Oh, we've got to stop voting in mail. No. In fact, we'll talk about this later on in the hour, but some data out on how good vote by mail is for rural counties in Utah. That information put out by the elections office today, and it's amazing. But no, this isn't cause to stop voting by mail. The same thing in ways can happen with voting in person. In fact, it happened every time with voting in person, because you always had those people that showed up after 8 p.m. and wanted to get in line still. Hundreds of them. Every clerk's office in the state showing up and being told, sorry, 8 p.m. is the cutoff. If you weren't in line at 8 p.m., you don't get to vote. And they were just as mad as these 346 people whose ballots ended up going to Las Vegas and getting postmarked after midnight with the the late postmark date, even though they mailed them the day before the election as instructed. So don't risk it, is the lesson from this. If you plan to wait to the last minute, if you accidentally wait till the last minute, and you want to absolutely guarantee nothing like this happens to your ballot, take your ballot into the post office yourself on November 4th, the day before the election, or earlier preferably. If you want to be super safe, hand it to someone, but at least take it in and drop it in the little box inside the post office, or at the box outside the post office in the parking lot. That is a much safer way to make sure you get the right postmark. But qualification on this, too, this comes from the Lieutenant Governor's office. Watch the collection times on those boxes outside the post office as well. Some collection times aren't until 4:30 or 5:30. That mail might actually go into a bag and sit until the next morning. So again, the lesson here is don't wait. Take it. If you're casting a ballot on election day, take it in person to the clerk's office. That's your only option. Don't mail it or put it in a drop box. Or excuse me, you can use the drop boxes on election day, but don't mail it on election day. If you plan to mail your ballot and you haven't by Monday, November 4th, take care of it in the morning. Take it into the post office yourself. Best option, though, is before Friday of this week. If you don't want to mail your ballot, take advantage of early voting. Go into the clerk's office. It takes seconds to walk in and hand your ballot to someone in the clerk's office during early voting, which starts next Tuesday. So there you have it. That's everything you need to know. To our listeners, at least, can't say, I didn't know that. And again, all of this information, as well as a profile on every candidate, every question on your ballot, including judge retention, is linked in the article, Voter Guide 2020, or excuse me, everything you need to know before you vote in Cache County. That is now live at CacheValleyDaily.com. And we'll be back with more of For the People right after this look at the news with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News is brought to you by Cardall's Insulation. A West Valley City neighborhood is on high alert following reports of a man spotted near a school bus stop with a firearm. Local police and community members told KUTV they are actively monitoring the situation. The incident occurred in a neighborhood a couple of miles from Diamond Ridge Elementary School. According to the Granite School District, parents began expressing concerns this week about a man openly carrying a gun near the bus stop. While district officials confirmed that no direct threats have been made to students or the school, they felt it was important to investigate. Both the Granite School District Police and West Valley City Police have determined there is no immediate threat to the public. Chris Bertram, a retired deputy chief of police, explained that while open carry is legal in Utah, it can be alarming in areas frequented by children. He emphasized that law enforcement may check on the situation to ensure safety, but individuals do have the right to carry. In light of these events, the Granite School District issued a statement alerting families and confirming their collaboration with local police to enhance patrols in the area, especially during school bus times. Authorities have identified the 81-year-old man who drowned Tuesday evening while duck hunting in the marshes of the Great Salt Lake. Utah County Sheriff's deputies reported that 81-year-old Kenneth Hill was hunting with 70-year-old Vince Badger and Hill's dog in the Duck Marsh area of the Great Salt Lake on Tuesday. Both men were out of the boat collecting duck decoys when Badger noticed Hill face down in the water. Officials said Badger was able to bring Hill to a nearby island where he attempted CPR. Deputies responded to reports of a possible drowning with assistance from a Department of Public Safety helicopter crew, ground resources, Salt Lake City Fire, and Salt Lake City police officers. The team located the men and recovered the boat and Hill's dog. Hill was pronounced dead at the scene, while Badger received treatment on site. Hill's dog and the boat were returned to his family. The investigation is ongoing. And KVNU weather for tonight, increasing clouds and then mostly cloudy overnight, low in the low 30s, mostly sunny Saturday, high around 70, partly sunny on Sunday and upper 60s for the high. KVNU weather is brought to you by Big O Tires, your true one-stop shop for automotive repair. Stop in for tires, wheels, alignments, rotation and balances, oil changes, brakes, battery, shock struts, fluids, and more at Big O Tires. Get more news at CacheValleyDaily.com.
ABC News, I'm Chuck Sievertson. A joint statement from the FBI and the Federal Cybersecurity Agency says hackers with the Chinese government have tried to break into cell phones and other commercial communication systems in the U.S., including phones of former President Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, and of Democrats. Vice President Kamala Harris in Houston talking about abortion restrictions leading to denial of urgent care and deaths.
This is not just a political debate. This is not just some theoretical concept. Real harm has occurred in our country. A real suffering has occurred. People have died.
The Washington Post's union and news writers say the paper's owner, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, personally killed an editorial board endorsement of Kamala Harris. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson calling for an investigation of the reported communications between Elon Musk, whose SpaceX partners with NASA, and Russian President Putin. This is ABC News.
Everyone has been asking me, hey, radio guy, what's the forecast for winter? Well, spoiler alert, it's going to be cold, but there is something you can do. Call Cardall's Insulation. With better insulation, you'll be amazed at how much warmer your home is. Get this, as much as 35% of your home's heat is lost through your walls and attic. And if your home was built before 1980, it's even worse. And right now there's a tax credit up to $1,200 for upgrading your insulation. Call Cardall's Insulation for all the details. 755-5012. That's 755-5012.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Trading was mixed Friday as companies continued reporting mostly solid earnings. The S&P 500 closed just slightly lower, down 2 points. It's the S&P's first losing week since early September. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 260 points. The Nasdaq Index rose 103 points for its seventh consecutive weekly gain. Both the S&P 500 and the Dow have been generally falling back from record highs set late last week. Markets have been more cautious amid worries that stocks have become too expensive. Higher Treasury yields, which make stocks less appealing to investors, added more pressure. Capital One Financial jumped over 6% after beating Wall Street's third-quarter financial forecasts. UGG footwear maker Deckers Outdoor climbed 10.6% after raising its financial forecast for the year. Technology companies L3 Harris Technologies rose 3.6% and Western Digital rose 5.7%. Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
Happy birthday, Bell Medical. For 8 years, we have had the privilege of helping people feel confident and love their bodies. To celebrate, we're offering a special on our Bell Sculpt 360 procedure for only $4,800. And for those looking to enhance their transformation, you can bundle it with a mini tuck for $9,500. Slim down, sculpt your body, and boost your confidence. We've helped thousands of patients feel their best, and we'd love to do the same for you. Let's celebrate together. Schedule your free consultation today at bellmedical.com. That's BELLE medical.com.
Weather changes are tough on your transmission. As we move to colder winter weather, AMCO Transmission invites you to bring your vehicle in for preventative maintenance before the snow flies. Have a diesel pickup, Cummins, Duramax, or Power Stroke? AMCO in Logan is your transmission specialist, and they promise to get you in quickly. For over 50 years, AMCO Total Car Care has been experts in repair for transmission, brakes, tune-ups, and more. Find your local AMCO. 75 East, 2000 North, 752-1940.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Threats against election workers and public officials have grown more intense and violent in the weeks before Election Day. We'll break it down. Also, what happened to CVS and Walgreens? Merchandise is locked up. The shelves are sometimes bare. It's the end of the age of convenience. and identifying the person who's the happy warrior at work. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. One last item, talking about the CacheValleyDaily.com voter guide with a complete list of deadlines you need to know. And again, at this point, you have about 17 minutes to either check or make your voter registration at vote.utah.gov. Cutoff for online voter registration is 5 p.m. today. After that, you've still got options. You can register in person with the clerk during early voting or on election day. And a message from the county clerk that to pass on here, and I thought I'd mention this. I don't think I did. I'd mentioned early voting starting next Tuesday, October 29th. County clerk wants me to remind everyone the drop boxes are open 24/7. I mean, just now. So, and that does include election day too. So if you don't want to go in, the lines on election day can be long at certain times of day, especially as you near the evening and that 8 p.m. cutoff. The drop boxes are open until then. So, and there's one at every city hall. There's one for Hiram residents. It's literally right behind the Elite Hall as the exit of the city office parking lot. Nibley residents, it's right there. I mean, you can't miss it. It's the first thing you see as you pull into the parking lot for City Hall in Nibley. In Logan, they are on the kind of in the center of the parking lot, but it's the west side of the new part. You know what I'm talking about if you lived in Logan. So just give you some examples. These are really easy to access, and they are open on election day. So if you don't want to mail your ballot, you do want to wait till election day, but you don't want to wait in line, take advantage of the drop boxes. It's simple. You swing through. There is one behind the county administration building as well, and they're open 24/7. And then they will be locked at 8 p.m. And I've actually seen this happen. The poll workers from the clerk's office go out before 8 p.m. and they're waiting there, and as they've got watches with exact time because this is law. And so they can go to jail if they don't do it right. They are there at 8 p.m., stick a key in, turn the key, and the slot is locked. And that's the end of the election. So don't wait. That's the message on all of this. I've done it to myself. In fact, there was a primary or a general election several years ago. I've mentioned this already. I really did want to vote. I had a big preference in that statewide race. Here in Utah, and I put my ballot on top of a stack of other mail, and I'd see it every day, and I'd think, I got to fill that out. I got to fill that out, and then eventually I'd missed the deadline for postmarking, and I thought, I'll take it in to a drop box tomorrow, and I forgot. I left it home. I remembered it, but I was too far away from home to go get it and be back in time. My work schedule didn't allow for it. I didn't get to cast a vote in that election. I was very angry at myself. So don't do that. We all do it. Don't do it. In fact, if you're listening right now and you're by your ballot, just start filling it out now and drive it to a drop box next time you're headed towards your respective city hall or going through Logan. Just swing by a drop box and drop it in, or use the drop boxes or take it to the clerk's office in person when early voting begins next Tuesday. So don't wait until the week of the election. If you're like me, you just run the risk of putting that off. So a final election item to get to here. This was posted to the Lieutenant Governor's Twitter account earlier today. And I'm sorry, it will always be Twitter. I've been here since it launched, and it will always be Twitter to me. I don't care what Elon wants to call it. He can call it whatever he wants. He's the owner, right? I'm not calling it X. It will be Twitter. X is dumb. So she posted this today. This is just a general update. But so far, this is really cool. We haven't talked about this a lot, but Utah and Representative Dan Johnson can take a lap for this one as well, although he's too humble to take a lap ever. But the Track My Ballot feature this is now the second election cycle where we've been able to use this. And the Lieutenant Governor says 26,283 voters have signed up to track their ballots. since just October 1st. So that doesn't include people like me who signed up for it when it first went live. This is, you get a text message, and it tells you every time your ballot is scanned at a different part of the process, from picked up to delivered to the clerk's office to processed by the clerk's office and election staff, to your vote has been recorded and is officially part of the election tally. So you get these live updates, and they are live. I mean, it is within minutes of your ballot being scanned, the outside of that envelope being scanned as it's processed through different checkpoints. You get an update. And again, more than 26,000 people have signed up for that just since October 1st. That is so cool. And again, Representative Dan Johnson played a big part in making that happen, though he would be the first to say, oh, there were a lot of people involved. Sure. So far, according to Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson, getting this data from the elections office she oversees, Ryan Cowley and crew, she says as of this morning, now this has changed since this last update, because this update was at 8 a.m. this morning. So it'll be more than this now. But as of 8 a.m. this morning, 287,815 ballots have been processed. 286 of those have come by mail, and only 1,721 in person. And I'm not sure where in person was an option this early, unless she's counting drop boxes maybe as in person. I don't think so, though. Maybe. So I'm not sure about that. But the by mail part, she's clear on. 286,094 ballots as of 8 a.m. this morning have already been processed by the clerk's office. And by process, that means they've been received, they've been scanned as received, and checked for validity, and then processed through the necessary machinery and mechanisms. Now, they're not. Lieutenant Governor's not going to be, posting tomorrow or Monday who's winning each race so far, because they don't look at that yet. That is not done until polls close at 8 p.m. on Election Day. But they process ballots because otherwise we wouldn't be finding out who won these races until like November 20th. So they process ballots now and have that all sitting and waiting as the count starts at 8 p.m. on Election Day, November 5th. But 286,000 plus ballots have been processed by mail already. That is, yeah. So that statewide, that is 16% turnout so far. Now, that's not a great number, but it's early. Early voting hasn't even started, but 16% this early, I'm pretty impressed. I think what that says is that the number of races, well, it could say a lot of things, but in part what it's saying is the number of races have generated interest. And I'm hoping that holds up. I hope by the end of this we see, oh man, it'd be great to see 65, 70% turnout. That's pie in the sky though, but we'll see. But that's the update as of today. So far, 16% turnout, 16.1 to be exact, as of 8 a.m. this morning, and 286,094 ballots sent back by mail already. Very cool stuff. We'll be back with more of KVN News for the people right after this.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
Hi, my name is Linda Christiansen, the County Clerk for Sanpete County. You might be wondering, is Utah's ballot process safe? The answer is yes. From signature verification to tabulation and storage, each ballot received is always handled by a minimum of 2 certified election officials for ballot processing. If you want to learn more about Utah election security, visit vote.utah.gov.
I'm Jason Thompson, and I'm running to be your next representative for House District 3. I'm not a politician, I'm a business owner and an entrepreneur. Our Utah House needs less politics and more action. I'm focused on what matters: lowering taxes, affordable housing, putting more of your hard-earned money back in your pockets, and a strong education system. We need less government intervention and fewer regulations. That's why I'm running. Your time to vote has arrived. Vote for Jason Thompson for a better future.
Paid for by the committee to elect Jason Thompson.
Hi, this is Chris Wilson at Wilson Motor Company. It's time for our fall clearance sales event. We have a great selection of over 130 new Fords and over 60 Nissans that need to go. All 24 models have closeout pricing. We have rebates up to $9,000 and rates as low as 0% for 72 months. Or we have over 125 pre-owned vehicles to choose from. Now is a great time to buy a new or pre-owned vehicle. Check out our inventory online at wilsonmotor.com. Hurry in, our fall clearance sales event ends soon.
It's time for USU hockey at the Eccles Ice Center tonight. Weber State invades Aggie home ice. See all the hockey action beginning at 7 o'clock tonight. Make sure they know this is the Aggies' house. Avoid the long lines. Get your tickets early at usuhockey.com. That's usuhockey.com. And day of at the Eccles Ice Center in North Logan. USU hockey and Weber State tonight at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. sharp. Do you have your tickets?
Hi, this is Dr. Landon Karen from Northern Utah Eye Center. We're thrilled to be the gold winner for the best ophthalmologist in the 2024 Best of Northern Utah. Our success is all thanks to you.
Everyone considered him the coward of the county. He'd never stood one single time to prove the county wrong. His mama named him Tommy, but folks just called him Yellow. Something always told me they were reading Tommy wrong. He was only 10 years old when his daddy died in prison. I looked after Tommy, 'cause he was my brother's son.
Welcome back to KVNU's For the People. For the People movie show coming up in just a bit with Andy Morgan joining us here in the studio. We have quite a bit to talk about. It's heading into the end of scary movie season, and that means that we're starting to see little snippets and sneak peeks of holiday movie season, some that haven't been announced already, so we'll talk about that. Also, remember, we had a long conversation about The Wild Robot last week. If you haven't seen that yet, do. And this is coming from two people, myself and Andy, who both enjoy, but at the same time kind of roll our eyes at the latest animated movie entry, because they can get a little repetitious and kind of, they're always great, and they always have the same feels, and they... you could almost predict the ending because they're made for kids, but they try to make them entertaining enough that adults like them too. And it's just, they can get very cookie cutter, and this is not. And that's what stood out to both Andy and I, that this is actually a very original animated movie, including the cast and the animation itself as well. So that's last week on the movie show, but we've got more to talk about today, a couple of new films in theaters and more. So stick around for that, for sure. Last election-related item to get to here. This is actually a question from a listener that came in during that last segment. And listener has actually a really good question, which is, what if you accidentally lose or destroy your ballot? Great question. The first thing to do is let the county clerk's office know for a couple of reasons. So one story that I can tell, this was an individual who had actually hadn't filled out their ballot yet, and they left it on a train. They were riding front runner back from Lagoon with their family. They'd been down to Frightmares at Lagoon, and he left it on a train, and he knew that. And he contacted UTA. They said, "No, we haven't seen anything like that." He didn't know if someone had picked it up and thrown it in the garbage. He didn't know if someone had picked it up, and he was concerned. Now, there are a lot of reasons this couldn't happen, but it's a legitimate concern, so I got it. He was concerned someone had filled it out and voted for him, and maybe voted the opposite of how he would. Now, that's what the signature matching is for, to stop that very thing from happening. So if a ballot had been sent in, filled out by someone else, but with the wrong signature, it would have been canceled out the minute they caught that wrong signature anyway. When the signatures didn't match, that ballot would be considered invalid. And that is actually against the law. So if they were able to track that person down, that person would then be in trouble. But, of course, that would be impossible to track them down, most likely. So you're protected against anyone voting in your name already here in Utah. But if you lose your ballot and you want the joy of filling out and mailing in a ballot, you go to the clerk's office, you let them know, hey, I lost my ballot, or my ballot was destroyed, I spilled a drink on my ballot, I put my ballot in the wrong box, and that ended up being the shredder, whatever it might be. You go to the county clerk's office, you let them know, and what they do is they cancel any ballot that's already been sent out to you. And so that ballot is completely void. Even if someone filled it out and sent it back in, the minute they got that ballot, they would say, this ballot has been canceled, toss it in the shredder. And then they give you a new ballot. Depending on the timing of when you go in, it might be a provisional ballot that you fill out right there, and it'll be tabulated after polls close on election day. Once they verify you're a registered voter. If you go in early enough, they can actually get a new ballot sent to you at your home. So if you lose your ballot, definitely too late to do so today. But if you've lost your ballot, if you can't find your ballot, go to the clerk's office as early as possible, preferably on Monday before they're all busy with early voting, which starts Tuesday. Let them know you've lost your ballot or your ballot's been destroyed and you need a new one, and they'll take care of you. And it's a very quick process. I actually had to do that once. And I think it took all of like 7 minutes that I was at the clerk's office, and I'd done it early enough that my new ballot arrived before the postmark deadline. So great question from a listener. We hadn't talked about that yet. So yeah, if you lose your ballot, that's all you need to know. Go to the clerk's office, let them know you lost your ballot, or you spilled a drink on your ballot, or you filled your ballot out wrong and you've changed your mind. Any of those things, they'll get you a new ballot, cancel your old ballot, and you're good to go. So online voter registration deadline is now passed. It is 5 o'clock. That deadline is upon us. But if you want to register to vote, you can still do so in person throughout next week and even on election day. And we'll keep you posted.